Wednesday, December 27th. I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight on the manga front, we preview Emma and Ode to Kirohito.
Let's do this.
So we almost didn't do a show tonight because we're tired and we're planning for our New Year's bash.
And it's much later than we usually record shows. I mean, usually we would have been done recording about now, but we're just starting.
See, we were on track. We were all set to go. I stopped at the Home Despot to pick up a new key for the house because a bunch of people are coming over, and I figured some of them need keys in case we're not here because people are staying longer than the party, as our parties tend to go.
Some people are getting here before the party, which means we have to go to work and they have to stay here, but they might want a key.
And some people are staying long after the party.
And some people really like bats and Zelda. They need some keys.
That was pretty sad.
What do you want?
I don't know. That really hurt. That hurt me in a profound way, Scott.
Well, anyone who got... See, the thing is that was a bad joke, but anyone who got it is awesome.
That is true. But in addition to that, all right, so that's good. I come home. We're cooking dinner. We're ready to go. Our friend Alex comes over, and instead of doing all the stuff we were going to do, we end up hanging out with him and watching a bunch of Ghost in the Shell and basically dicking around for several hours.
Like 2.
In addition to me doing laundry, then finding out the key didn't work, and Scott needed butter, so we go out on the road again, and now it's 10:30, and we haven't even started the show.
It's 10:21. We're starting the show right now.
It's 10:27.
That's good enough. But not 10:30 yet. Yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I guess we could just bust right into the news.
Yeah, let's bust right into this business. All right, so I'm reading this article here that was on the Anime News Network, where all anime news comes from, and it's from Business Standard, which I guess is some big-time newspaper in India. And the article says, Indian bookstores are stacking up with graphic novels in the Japanese genre. And I said, we always keep thinking about Japan and the U.S., and we don't think, we keep seeing all this Japanese culture coming over to the U.S. The sushi already came over. The anime has pretty much come over. The manga is coming over pretty strong. They're just selling us all their culture. But we don't really think that Japan or anyone else so much exporting the culture elsewhere. I mean, you don't read articles about manga in South Africa or popularity of manga in Russia. So this really kind of opened my eyes to, hey, manga's popular in India. That makes sense. I should have realized that before. I wonder where else manga is popular besides U.S. and India and maybe Britain and Canada.
I'd imagine France.
I imagine Mexico.
Because anime is always
There's probably some big-time manga going down in Mexico and South America.
Yeah.
Possibly France.
You know what? I hate to say it, but I get a feeling that a lot of what you'd find in Mexico would be... Remember all those Chinese comics we found at the shore?
I don't know, because Dragon Ball was real big in the Spanish-speaking
You know
Latin
what?
America.
Dragon Ball is honestly a lot like those Chinese comics.
I'm just saying, I remember Dragon Ball was always on the Spanish, channel on the cable network where I lived, and it was really popular.
Well,
and I always, Hispanic kids that I knew were always Dragon Ballers.
Well, I remember Anime World Order's always talking, because they were asking a while ago about, people in different countries and how they watch anime, and they've gotten a bunch of responses that I don't remember, so I can't say anything about them.
The other interesting thing about this article is after they talk about how, manga is so popular in India and it's getting bigger and stuff, they list some manga that you should buy, and their recommendations are excellent. Their first recommendation is Akira.
Of course.
Followed by Buddha.
Of course.
Crying Freeman.
Yep.
Lone Wolf and Cub.
Uh-huh.
And then Othello, which I think I've seen in the stores and never read. It's some J-Rock teen manga. But the first 4 were all hardcore, real deal mangas. And I think that's pretty cool that, over here, it's the schoolgirl crap that's popular. But apparently over there in the big-time newspaper in India, they're pushing the good stuff.
Well, I think part of the reason the...
Kazuo Koike's and the Tezukas and the Otomos.
Whenever I hear Koike's name, I can't help but laugh. It has nothing to do with his name.
Have you ever seen a picture of Kazuo Koike?
No, I haven't.
You should go look because you'd laugh 2 times.
I don't need that in my life.
You do.
I laugh enough at the content of all that he has done and the vibe I get from that classic magical name. That man... It's kind of like with Robin Williams. No matter what he does, no matter what role he's playing, no matter what the situation is, it could be a World War II movie and genocide everything. if I see Robin Williams, I can't help but laugh, or at least suppress a laugh. I don't know why. I can't help but laugh when I see him, and I can't help but laugh when I hear about Koike.
That's him on the left, the right.
You know, in a sick way, he looks exactly the way a man like that should.
I like the beard. The
I do
beard
too.
really puts the whole thing together.
Especially with the glasses. He reminds me of
He's
someone...
sort of got like this Buddha-shaped head with this like sort of American-style like gray old man hair. These little tiny circle glasses. This big nose.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? Ichijima.
Kinda.
A little bit, like maybe a younger Ichijima.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Oh, what's your news? Oh, that guy on the left? That's Carl Horn.
That's what Carl Horn looks like?
Apparently.
He doesn't look nearly as cool as Kazuo Koike.
No, he doesn't look cool at all.
Granted, I think not many human beings look cooler than Kazuo Koike.
I think a lot of people look cooler than Kazuo Koike. He doesn't look very cool, but
I don't know.
He definitely looks like Kazuo Koike does.
All right, so this is... I'll link this to anime, all right? This is something that, if it is followed all the way through, will allow more anime to be shown in America uncensored.
What? Okay.
So the FCC is one of my most hated government entities in the United States. You see, they're responsible for pretty much anything that has to do with communications in the United States.
Well, their original purpose was Congress said, hey, you know, this sucks that we have all these radio things and they keep changing, and it sucks to have more than one person use the same frequency. So we need to find a way to dole out the frequencies, and we can't be bothered to do it ourselves. Let's make a federal agency to just take care of it. And they did.
Now, regulating that sort of thing is okay. I mean, you'd have to be quite a libertarian whack job to argue against the idea that the airwaves should be at least moderated in some degree.
Yeah, or otherwise they just become useless.
It would just be absolute chaos.
Yep.
I mean, already on the borders of
That's
America...
like saying there shouldn't be any traffic laws at all, just roads.
I mean, already on the borders of America, particularly the southern border, there are radio stations in Mexico broadcasting at unbelievably powerful rates into the United States because there's nothing we can do about it.
Yep.
And in fact, you're usually broadcasting American content. I learned that recently, and I found it hilarious from someone I know who's living down there. But the FCC has grown to basically, in addition to regulating the airwaves, violating the First Amendment on a regular basis by censoring pretty much anything that is broadcast on any medium over which they have control. Now, the way they get around this is that they're not technically censoring because there is no prior restraint. They will never go to someone and say, you can't say X on your radio show, or you have to show us this crazy thing, and then we'll say if it's okay or not. In fact, they won't even say what's okay or not. There's actually no official public list of what's okay and what's not okay.
Because if there was a public list, that would be blatantly against the First Amendment censorship.
Yeah.
And they can't do it.
So they can't have the prior restraint or anything, and they can't have any sort of prior review either. So what they do is they just wait. And if Howard Stern accidentally says something that sounds like fuck...
Well, he's not on the radio anymore. But
when he was... Remember, pretty much the only reason he actually left radio was because the FCC wouldn't leave him alone.
Yeah.
But I'll get to all that because it's... I could do a whole show on this business.
We could.
We probably should.
Eventually.
Maybe, someday. But, so say he says fuck by accident, or someone calls in and says...
Oh, we can say fuck.
Ain't it great? Fuckity fuck. Okay, I got it out. I got them all out today.
All right, bitches.
So someone calls in and says it on the show, or something happens. And the FCC can just come back and be like, yeah, that's $1 million fine. But he didn't violate any public rule. There was no official thing he wasn't allowed to do. They just decided arbitrarily after the fact to fine him. And in fact, in many cases, they would make an arbitrary rule and wait a week until a radio show such as Howard Stern had violated that rule 5, 6, 7 times and hadn't been warned. And then suddenly they say, oh, by the way, $1 million per instance. And oh, you did it 7 times this week. How about that? And the worst part is that the FCC doesn't actually do any of this on their own. There is a very, very small number of right-wing Christian groups. And I forget that there's basically 3 groups. And you can find their names easily on the internet.
There's like parents.
The parents'
something-
television console.
I
something
don't
like
know.
That.
There's a whole bunch of them.
But there's like 2 or 3 big ones. And what they do is anytime they watch TV, and when they find anything that they find offensive, basically anything funny, interesting.
So basically, one person is watching television.
Yeah.
Right? And then when they see something that they don't like, they tell all the other people who are going about their daily lives that show had something bad. And then all those people write letters to the FCC complaining. So the
Most of
FCC
them-
gets 1,000 letters.
Most of them now are internet form letters. They're not even real letters.
And they're all from the same, it looks like, oh shit, we got, 1,000 letters about this show. We should go do something about it. But really, it's from one group sending all those letters.
Now, not only that, that's horseshit right there. But they're unpublished. They're effectively censoring by just fucking you after the fact if you say the word fuck and taking away all your money and doing all these evil things. And they're totally getting away with it. Until now, the networks are starting to not take this anymore, especially with the fact that Sirius Radio and XM Radio, which aren't bound by FCC rules, are basically destroying terrestrial radio.
And podcasting.
Yes, podcasting too is destroying radio, so you're a part of this.
I mean, think about it. I mean, you go out there, and if you ask people on the street, most of them will say, yeah, kids shouldn't be listening to that. But if you actually look at the listening and viewing habits of entertainment of most people in this country, violent, sexy, swearing stuff is what people want to see. It's what they pay to see. It's what more people go to see. It's what makes the big money. That's where it's at. The number of people who are actually against that stuff is a minority, not the majority.
And yet the FCC will fine someone $1 million based on the complaints of 1,000 people, only one of whom probably actually saw the offending item.
And, yeah.
All right, to cut a long story short, people have been taking the FCC to court, and it's starting to look like, in Gandalf's words, we're at the turn of the tide.
The turn of the tide.
Judges have basically been practically flat out yelling at the FCC and calling them out on all the things I just said and how they're effectively using a loophole and pedantic arguments to get around the First Amendment and censor people to their heart's content.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
And if these judges are backed up by other judges and if this gets to high courts, it may be that the FCC will lose its power of enforcing obscenity, decency, and blasphemy laws.
That's bad news for us. People will start listening to terrestrial radio again. Oh, shits.
What's in the news, Rob?
Right.
Oh, Howard! I don't find Howard Stern funny at all. I'll say that straight up.
I was never, like his TV show is okay because then you see on the occasion when he does something crazy in the studio. But other than that, is just a guy going, "Hey, I have a great radio voice. What's up?"
You know how he has the great radio voice? He basically sticks the microphone in his mouth, down his throat, and into his lungs.
Well, he also has been a radio guy forever, and he's trained to be that radio guy.
But I think his show is pretty crap and pretty not funny. However, that man is one of the few people who is in a position to fight for the First Amendment and is fighting for the First Amendment at every opportunity. Things of the day!
You want to go first?
All right, I can go first, because mine is not in any way anime related.
Okay.
Unless maybe, I guess you can consider
Mine
Pendulette.
is kind of Japanese, sort of.
Well, it has a relevant anime-related anecdote.
I guess.
I mean, it almost changed the course of our lives.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
All right. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, so.
All right. So, we're fans of Penn and Teller, the musical act, and we're...
The musical act, really?
They're kind of musical.
I don't know.
Magical act. The magic act. And, Penn Jillette, the dude, and Teller, the dude, because they do that show, Bulls hit, or as we can say without the FCC breathing down our necks, bullshit. Well, one of the things they do is that they do pretty awesome magic. And unlike other magicians, they're not afraid
Unlike other magicians, they do their show every night.
They're not afraid to reveal to the world exactly how they do their tricks.
Well, some of the tricks they don't tell just because they want to, keep the act. They want to keep you coming to the show because if you know how they do everything, the show is not interesting anymore.
Well, yeah, but in general, they very much play the angle of, we're doing tricks, see if you can figure it out. Or, yeah, we did a crazy trick. There's no magic here. It's just a lot of work and effort and cool sleight of hand.
Yeah, like, hey, check out this cool trick I can do. Isn't that entertaining? Good. You pay me for that entertainment. That's right. Now I'm rich.
But a lot of times, I mean, they've revealed many times exactly how tricks are done to the world. And a lot of other magicians have seemed to have gotten kind of mad about this. You know?
It's like, there are the tricks that you can learn by going to any magic store, and there's just the book that tells you how to do it. They usually reveal the tricks that are just like one step above that. They never reveal like the big time stuff that, the big time tricks that only super professional magicians know how to
pretty
do.
much the ones that only they do.
Exactly.
But they'll reveal someone else's trick. They don't care.
I guess. Whatever.
Yeah. But, I mean, one of the things is they point out that a good trick is one that is just as impressive if you know exactly how they do it. Because then it's not a matter of, wow, how'd they do that? It's a matter of, holy shit, they did that?
Yeah.
Because
it's also, you look at the guy doing it and you're like, whoa, that takes a lot of effort. I couldn't do that.
Yep, because they'll talk about how like a trick that takes 10 seconds on stage takes 14 hours of preparation.
Yep.
But this is a video from some show, and it doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter the context or anything.
Yeah, don't worry why Regis Philbin's there. Just ignore him.
They show you a trick, and then they do the trick again where everything's transparent, so you can see exactly how they did it. Granted, it wasn't the biggest trick, and if you have any amount of brain, you'll figure out exactly how they did the trick well before they show you how they did the trick. But
it's funny because they have this music that plays when they do the trick, and then the lyrics to the song change when they show you the trick revealed, and it's pretty hilarious.
If by hilarious you mean so lame it hurts.
In other words, hilarious. It's so lame that it's actually funny.
Right, so get to your semi-anime related thing of the
Okay,
day.
I'm bringing it back with the thing of the day classic. We need a thing of the day classic music. Lightning. This thing of the day is from, 2000? 2000.
We were freshmen in college.
Had to be the year 2000. We're not exactly sure what it is. We're pretty sure it's a trailer. Not a trailer.
A trailer for an epic movie.
It's a pilot for a Japanese sitcom or comedy sketch show that never got turned into a real show. But it's in English. Like, all the actors speak in English, and there's some Japanese subtitles going on. And, October 20th, the year 2000. Pilot Tokyo Breakfast. Now, you might already know what this is because it's been around for 7 years. But you might not know what it is. Let me tell you. It is a 6-minute-long comedy sketch involving a Tokyo family with a mom, a dad, a grandpa, a son, and a daughter. And it is so racist. Good God. I mean...
You think you know racism?
You think you know racism? Like, I am a fan of the type of comedy done by people such as Richard Pryor. Black man do this. White man does that. Black man do this. White man does that. And that's a little bit racist. But it's not insulting racist. It's like, yeah, that's a racial stereotype, and it is funny to think about it. This is so racist, like, I guess it's not KKK racist, but it's more racist than people are in their everyday lives. It crosses the line to where you go, whoa, dude.
Yep.
If someone acted like this, like hanging out with you, you'd be like, oh, dude, you can't be doing that. That's not cool.
Yeah. Now, granted, we saw this at RIT, and for a while, we all sat around and we're like, is this funny or wrong? And we laughed at half of it, and half of it we're just like, wow.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because nowadays it's all hilarious because I've seen it so many times. The racism effect doesn't work on me anymore.
You got to reveal what it is at all, or should we just let people see it?
It's Japanese people speaking English, being racist and funny.
Yeah. Well, I'll just put it this way. The way that this almost changed our lives was that we were freshmen and we all watched it, and then the next day we all went to Anime Club. And after Anime Club, we're standing in tape checkout, and one of us yells out, like, to our group in the corner, one of the taglines from this little sketch comedy. And then the rest of us shout back, "We did!" And, we do a little bit from it, and we're all laughing. And the administration of the club comes down, and they almost kicked us out of club right there. Granted, it wasn't the first time they tried to kick us out of club. So
you failed everything except animation. Okay.
If you are offended by racism to an extreme level, I highly recommend you do not watch
Yeah, if
this.
you are the kind of person who watches like white men do this, black men do that comedy, and you do not find it funny, and you're all insulted, you're going to be super insulted at this.
But granted, this isn't that bad. It's not like I don't know, Ku Klux Knievel
It's
or
not.
anything.
It's not Ku Klux Knievel. No.
It's not that bad. It's just, it's not that good either. But it is kind of funny.
It's really funny,
And
especially at the end. The end is hilarious.
Man,
like
they
like
must
the
have
joke. It's a running gag. The same racist joke pervades the whole 6 minutes. But there's a couple of other jokes that come up in the middle of it, and then at the end there's a super payoff, even if the joke gets wearing thin in the middle.
Like, it wears thin to the most it could wear thin, and then I don't know, they must have just found this guy on the street and been like, "You American, come here." But
Do a gaijin. We need a gaijin for our pilot. Get here. Okay.
I imagine they just gave this guy like 10,000 yen. They're like, "Say this line and carry this box."
Yeah. All right, that's enough.
That's all.
This
we
is
can
a
say.
classic thing today that we hold dear, and you should all see it.
Yeah, it's a tiny piece of Front Row Crew history. You see, that was from before funny internet videos were easy to come by.
It was. You are correct.
I mean, you could go to College Humor, which had like
I think the only things competing with this were All Your Base and
maybe Hyakugo Juichi, but I think that was
Maybe.
actually later.
yeah, I think that was later. I'm not sure. I had to go look at the dates.
Yeah, there was no YouTube back then. If you found something funny on the internet, you could guarantee that everyone you knew would see the exact same video and you would laugh about it hysterically because it was the only entertainment you had.
Yeah. And finding out about it was even more difficult because there weren't even blogs back then. I mean, Slashdot was the only thing you had.
God, I started reading Slashdot when I got to RIT.
I read Slashdot like a few months before I got to RIT, but I started really reading it when I got to RIT.
Right, so
right.
we were going to do the show on Initial D.
Which is going to be a great show.
However, since it's late and we're tired, we were not prepared to put forth the requisite effort to do Initial D justice.
Initial D requires great justice.
You may or may not like our take on Initial D, but suffice to say,
I have a feeling it is an area of contention with the other anime podcasts and most anime fans out there. Our stance on Initial D.
I have a feeling that we're going to win that battle, not in the first place or the second place,
Not in the third place. Not in the straightaways or the corners, but in the third.
But we're not talking about that
No, we're
today.
not talking about Initial D. We're going to do a 2 for 2.
Kind of like the old format of the show before we switched it up a bit. So this is kind of a like throwback to the way Geeknights was, I don't know, 220 episodes ago.
Yeah, Rim's going to do one manga, and I'm going to do one manga, and then we're going to go to fucking bed.
Yep, we're not really reviewing, so don't worry about that. No spoilers or anything. This is more of a preview, meaning we're going to basically let you know
Hey, I read this manga. Check it out.
if this is the kind of thing you would like and if it was the kind of thing that we like.
Mm.
And Scott's is very highbrow, I guess.
And yours is medium brow.
Yeah, definitely not lowbrow.
No, it's not lowbrow.
No.
I would know.
All right, you want to go first?
I don't know. Mine's bigger than yours. I should go
Yeah.
second.
All right, mine's really little, so that'll be taken out of context.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so for Christmas, in addition to another amazing gift, Emily got me a copy of Emma, which is a manga by Kaoru Mori, who is a woman. A lot of people think that the manga artist here is a man. Numerous people have stated as such, and that's not true. It's a woman.
Yep. See, I knew about this because I watched like part of the first episode of the fan sub of the anime, and then I found out it was a manga. And all I knew about it was that it was a manga about maids, but it was not a perverted manga about maids. It was seriously about maids.
Yeah, like, you know, most like crap anime, like a character's dressed as a maid,
Mahoromatic.
only they're all like pink or something, and then they have sex with each
Chobits.
other or something horrible.
Every hentai.
Emma is set, and this is how Emily actually sold it to me by telling me about this way even before. It's a show about maids that's set in Victorian England and is actually about realistically portrayed maids.
Yeah.
Like, it's a straight up drama romantic comedy.
Yep.
None of that, no perversion, none of that stupid crap.
No revealing cleavage, no upskirts.
It's a period piece that is generally very faithful to the period.
Yeah.
I mean, as faithful as something like this can be. And apparently the mangaka is actually, I guess I would describe her as an Anglophile. That might be an understatement. She really freaking likes England and English history and this era, and she is super into this, according to everything I read about her, and according to the things she writes about herself in the little hello, welcome to my manga bit at the end of this.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of manga, like at the end of every volume, there'll be like a couple, like a few pages of just silly manga, like like Full Metal Alchemist has it, Trigun has it.
Yep.
I wonder what's up with that. Like you don't see that. It's not a convention from American comics.
And you know what? I really like it.
I do like it, but
And
I'm
I will
just saying, I
say-
wonder where that came from. I'd like to learn more about it.
I will say this: the after manga or the afterward manga in Emma is absolutely hilarious. Kind of like the Cromartie
I don't know.
after
It's
manga.
tough to compete with the Full Metal Alchemist after manga.
I don't know.
Is that what we're gonna call it, the after manga? Someone tell us the correct word. I feel bad.
Well, it's called afterward manga in Emma.
Okay, that's fine.
It's also called Gentlemen's Fancy Maids in Black, and then there's the word theme and an arrow pointing at it. And just a little bit here, like there's these funny Indian girls who don't talk, and they're probably one of the funniest bits in this manga so far. And the mangaka is like, no one gets the purpose of the Indian girls, and then a little text at the bottom. Actually, I just kind of like this kind of character.
Yeah.
But Emma is the story of a maid, a pretty but plain maid in the typical maid sense, I guess. And in addition, a young gentleman named William, who is wealthy but not a nobleman, but wealthy enough to where he can have all the pretensions of a nobleman, and he's young, and his father is a wealthy businessman.
And she's their maid.
No.
Oh, okay.
She's the maid of a friend of the family.
Oh, all right.
And there's a few other characters. There's this really funny, hilarious Indian prince who comes and stays with him for a while and all this stuff. And it's basically just a cute, charming love story set in the period. I mean, I could go on in much more detail, but I really don't want to ruin anything about this. It's heartwarming. At times it's serious. It's mostly funny, but not in the stupid slapstick funny, but more in the subtle kind of very underplayed and well-executed humor.
Give an example of a joke.
Well, like whenever William obviously fancies this girl Emma. It's obvious from the start, and it's actually portrayed kind of realistically. When two people are really like they like each other.
Well, we're in those days, didn't they have to be all courting and shit?
So they're a little flirty, but they can't be too flirty. And like you accidentally touch hands, then you both blush and back away. And
that's the anime for you.
but the way it is portrayed, and the way it is drawn, and the way they talk to each other while they're doing this is just really fun. Like the expressions on the characters' faces really make it. Kind of like in Nana. How half of Nana's humor is just the way the characters' faces change.
With those perfectly circular eyes with a dot in the middle, like, oh?
Yeah, this doesn't do that. It does
really?
more really big eyes and characters on frame, but they're looking down or they're looking up or their eyes are cocked to the side. And for some reason, that with tiny realistic sweat drops together and charming dialogue are kind of this, it's funny, but not in a laugh out loud way, but in a you're generally amused at all points.
Hee-hee.
Yes. Of course, this is interspersed by periodic moments of absolute crazy comedy gold. I'll ruin this because this isn't a big deal. This Indian prince, who is actually friends with William, comes to visit incognito. And by incognito, meaning the next day, the newspaper prints that he is visiting incognito.
Awesome.
And then, he gets off and he's got all these elephants with him. Because he's royalty. He can bring elephants with him. So he's got these elephants. And William is like, you can't bring elephants into my house. You can't bring them here. This is dangerous. And the prince is like, elephants are perfectly docile and peaceful. While he's saying
Tell that
this,
to Stampy.
one of the elephants goes berserk and starts attacking people and going on a rampage. And the whole time, he's chasing it down and trying to stop it. He's yelling back to William like, this never happens. They're perfectly peaceful. Nothing bad ever happens. This blah, blah, blah.
Do you think that the mangaka was, recognized that the maid fetish existed and it sort of made this to be like, haha, look at that. Take that, bitches.
I get the impression that the mangaka has a maid fetish.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
But
more
not
of like you crazy maid cafe people. I'm gonna make a maid manga that's serious, and then you'll buy it by accident. Take that, bitches.
Well, no, she also did something else called Shirley, apparently, according to Wikipedia, which is also set in the similar time period.
Oh, okay.
And if you read the little after manga, she basically is like, I really like maids, and I really like England, and I wanted to make a manga about it. And she gets really, really excited about little things like just the
So it's basically a
littlest freaking
fangirl
things.
made this.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
I don't want to ruin any more. I don't want to talk about it in depth. I can't think of a single human being who wouldn't enjoy reading Emma. They might not like enough to buy it all, might not like enough to even buy it. But if you get a chance, read the first volume of Emma, and I guarantee you'll smirk at least a couple times and come out of it being enjoyed, come out of it feeling very happy.
There's also an anime.
Yes.
That's pretty new, real new.
I haven't seen the anime at all, but I looked at some screen captures that compared it to scenes in the manga, and at least as far as the style is concerned, they are dead on.
Mm-hmm.
Dead freaking on. Kind of like Nana.
All right, I'm going to tell you about something that you might not know exists. Well, I mean, you're either in the category of people who are like, how could you not know about that? It's like obvious. Or you're in the category of people with, what the fuck are you talking about? I never heard of that in my life. I'm going to talk about Ode to Kirohito by the god of manga, Osamu Tezuka. Now, it's from Vertical Publishing, which is the same people who's publishing Buddha, and they're publishing Two Terra and the Guin Saga. And basically, they publish all the really, really highbrow manga. All of it. Most of it, anyway. Whatever they have that someone else didn't already publish. Now, Ode to Kirohito is something that has never been in English ever. It was written in, let's see, what year does this say? 1970 and 1971. It was published by Osamu Tezuka in Bigu Komiku Shogakan. And it didn't get here until now. Ode to Kirohito is one giant manga. It's all one book. You can't buy separate volumes of it.
It's one of those hit someone over the head with it books.
It's pretty big. I mean, it takes up your whole hand. It's kind of hard. This thing's like 2 inches thick. What do you say? 2.5 maybe?
More than that.
Yeah.
But at least it's bound well.
Yeah.
Not like Urusei Yatsura.
Yeah, it's not going to fall apart when you read this thing. It's also got a pretty cool cover where this thing slides back and forth. It's really a high-quality production. Of course, it is $25, but I got it at a discount because I'm awesome. It is a medical drama from 1970, before shows like ER and whatever other medical dramas you watch today existed. You know, you read stuff like Blackjack, which is also by Tezuka, or, I don't know, you play Trauma Center, or what other medical dramas are out there? I can't even think of any. But as far as I know, this is
House.
I don't know what House is.
Is
it a medical drama?
I don't know.
Whatever. But this, it's like, you play Knifey Spoony, like, oh, this is a knife. No, this is a knife. Well,
I say you've played Knifey Spoony before.
Yeah, someone comes up and says, this is a medical drama. I say, no, this is a medical drama. Monster. Monster, if you read Ode to Kirohito, Monster is going to seem half as good as it is.
Yeah.
Because
so if you're currently reading Monster, finish it before you pick this up.
That's right, because you're going to read this, and then you're going to go back to Monster and be like, wow, that was a ripoff, wasn't it? Well, Monster's a ripoff of this. Oh, and one other thing I just had to say before I tell you about what actually goes on in this manga is that it is left to right, but it doesn't matter. Vertical doesn't seem to go along with the whole flipping the pages thing. Well, not flipping the pages so that you can read right to left. But if you can freaking read it, everything makes sense, and the translations are of the highest quality and the fonts are really good. You can give this to someone and, they probably would never know that it was originally in Japanese. Well, I guess, you can kind of tell from Tezuka's art style that's kind of Japanese, but whatever.
Or from the name Kirohito.
Right, yeah, that would do it too. Yeah.
I mean, they could completely anglicize it.
Or the fact that it says so right in front of the book.
See, if they remade it, and localized it, it'd be Ode to John.
Yeah. Anyway, the story is about a doctor, Dr. Kirohito.
Oh.
And Dr. Kirohito is an awesome doctor. And basically, he's working on this patient. And this patient is in room 66. Dum, dum, dum. And the patient has a really strange disease that turned it into a beast of some sort. And he's, his like whole head is becoming malformed. He's growing hair all over. And he's basically becoming a horrible monster, and he's also dying. So the doctor is really struggling to, discover, more about this disease, find a cure for it, what causes it, etc. There's big arguments going on in the medical community, whether it's a virus or a bacteria or if it's endemic or who knows. And, it gets pretty intense because people are all corrupt, and they're trying to screw other people out of research and, all kinds of stuff. Mishandling the patients, doing all sorts of shady dealings. And basically stuff, I don't want to know how much I want to go and spoil it, but the doctor ends up going on a crazy quest around the world in all sorts of different crazy situations, that are very intense. Pretty much every moment is intense throughout this whole thing. I mean, you're constantly going, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen there? And it's wow. It's really heavy shit. Not only is the paper heavy, but the story is heavy as well.
Well, consider this. Scott was reading it off and on while we were at the Northern Geek House having a party.
Yep.
And the fact that he could be distracted from a party by a manga says a lot.
It does. And not only is there the story of the doctor on his adventure around the world to, deal with his problems, but there's all these other sort of peak characters that have their own story. It's like, there's the corrupt doctor still back in Japan. What's he doing? Then there's the other kind of sketchy doctor who's kind of bad and kind of good. What's he up to? Then, you've got his quest to find the disease, but you've also got his wife or his fiance. What's she doing stuck in Japan after he ran away? And all this crazy stuff goes on. And in the end, after the end of how many pages this freaking thing?
A lot. I would wager 600.
It's 822 pages.
Yeah, I was close.
They actually managed to tie everything together. It's like a miracle.
Damn.
Well, and you got to read, when you're reading this thing, not only do you have to realize this whole thing was by Osamu Tezuka, one guy, art and story, just like all of other Tezuka's works. But if you've read other Tezuka stuff like Buddha or Phoenix or Astro Boy, I've read a lot of it. And this, I'd have to say, is the most polished of all of them. The other ones have a few, silly bits here, or they have, some kind of sketchy stuff there, or sometimes something doesn't make complete sense in one spot or another. This is freaking polished. It's as if he wrote the whole thing and double-checked everything and made sure it was all perfect. And I don't know if it's the best Tezuka work, because Phoenix is just so much more epic in its scope, but the quality level is the same if the plot is not as epic. If you like doctors or I don't know, science fiction stories that are all giving you a big message.
If you like dramas and thrillers.
Yeah. This is where it's at, people.
Anything dramatic, thriller, doctor, gun, running, science, fighting, spy. Anything like
it doesn't
that.
have too much. Well, it has a little bit of spy at one point. But yeah, world hopping, crazy medical adventures of, Jekyll and Hyde type stuff, Frankenstein type stuff. This is where it's at. This is like 1970. And the scary thing is, you look at this. In 1970, someone was writing one of the most serious and revolutionary medical drama stories ever in a graphic novel. Meanwhile, in 1970, the comic books in the United States were the corniest, cornball crap you ever saw. So this is worth reading, because you'll fucking learn something.
So just as an aside, before we close out this week of us being tired between one holiday and another holiday, Katsukan, this in February. It's a ways off. We're not going to talk about it a lot yet, but it looks like we are going to be emceeing the video game room in some capacity, meaning that if you come to Katsukan, we will be in the video game room making noise, running panels, doing game shows, having trash talk Mario Tennis tournaments, doing interviews, and generally making a ruckus for the whole con.
We're going to be doing more at Katsukan than at any con we have done previously.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get you more details once we hammer them out with the con, but they asked us, what can you do? And we sent back the list of like, well, we can do this kind of event, and we can do this kind of event, or we can do this kind of layout and this kind of thing. The stuff we send to cons. And they got back to us, and they basically said, yes. So we still have to deal with all the logistics of getting down, and we have to, do all our stuff.
Yeah, the thing about Katsukan is the hotel that Katsukan is in Washington, D.C., which kind of sucks. And it's sold out, which kind of sucks. So if you want to go, you're going to have to stay in this overflow hotel that's a mile away, and it's not going to be the greatest thing in the world.
But that won't be so bad. I mean, I kind of counted on our friends having a room because they usually get one every year, but they ended up only having 2 spots, and along with Scott Johnson, there are 3 of us. Thus, no go.
Yep.
But it won't be a big deal. We'll deal with it. because there's no way we're missing Katsukan. I've gone for the
not
last
with the kind of stuff that they're going to let us pull there.
I've gone for the last few years, and this will be Scott's first Katsukan, but I think he'll really like it.
Probably.
Especially if we're in the video game room showing punk kids what it really means to be good at Mario
Yeah, it's
Tennis.
basically a portion of Katsukan will be Geeknights Con, and you can all come and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, our plan is, if
Not to
nothing
mention
else,
the rest of Katsukan, which should probably be great.
Yeah, Katsukan is really freaking awesome. It's one of my favorite cons.
We should bring Katsu.
We should. I mean, honestly, of all time, Otakon, Katsukan, Anime Central are probably my 3 favorite cons ever.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So we'll get you more details as they come out. But
You can always go to the Katsukan website.
Yes, you can. And if you live anywhere in the southeastern United States, and
Southeastern? You mean mid-eastern?
anywhere,
where Maryland
you know what?
is.
Anywhere east of the Mississippi.
Katsukan 13, Omni Shoreham Hotel, Washington, D.C., February 16th through 18th, 2007. Katsukan.com. There you go.
Yes.
Cosplay registration is closed. Artist Alley is full.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night. I don't know what I'm going to give away. We'll see.
Oh, you're going to give something away?
I don't know.
On Things of the Day?
Nigga don't get no job. Nigga don't go to school. Nigga don't get no job.
All right. We should probably explain what that was.
Are we starting already? I thought let's start.
I went all Dave and Joel. I could cut this out.
No, start again.
You want me to start again?
Start again.
All right.
You didn't even say thing of the day.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
I said it.
Play it again.
Okay.